time.
This just happened the other day.
It needs.
I'm a salaryman considering changing jobs. I have a friend who manages a cabaret club. This guy, a short chubby man, who's always grinning, has apparently been possessed by a powerful evil spirit since his school days. I don't really believe in that stuff, just find it amusing to hear about. But in the 7 years I've known him, there have been a number of inexplicable occurrences. To explain, the spirit haunting him is supposed to be a woman with terrible injuries to her hands. Unfortunately, I've never seen this so-called beauty's ghost that attaches to him. I work in sales. That day I was in a bad mood, heading home after an incomprehensible complaint from a customer, a mentally ill person. I was used to bowing my head to jerks trying to take advantage, but this customer was especially unpleasant, though I can't see spirits myself since getting to know him. I've somehow started sensing a kind of presence. Arriving at my local station on the last train, I had a really bad feeling. Hard to describe, but I didn't want to walk alone. My town has a reputation for crime. It's along the Loop line in Osaka. With the station near a red light district, the area right around it is decently lit at least. My apartment is about a 15-minute walk, but I considered getting a taxi. Not sure why with the creepy vibe, but I suddenly felt like stopping by the convenience store a bit away from the station. I bought a magazine and left the store. My apartment was only 5 more minutes away. I hesitated whether to walk or get a taxi. On a separate note, that complaint customer was a woman trying to order a pizza over the phone. Strangely, she called the sales line instead of the mail order department from Hokkaido. After sending a fax of the model specs and getting approval, we'd simply ship it cash on delivery. But she specifically asked for me by name and chatted at length. It had gone on for nearly 5 days. She talked about things like her divorce, and even my past relationships, of course. I kept it vague, weirdly personal stuff. In particular, she claimed to be of psychic. Frankly, it was really irritating. For some reason at the fork ahead, I wavered whether to take the shortcut by the alley along a closed-down factory, or the longer way sticking to the main road. Despite the ominous feeling, I ended up taking the shortcut for some reason. Walking along, somehow I sensed someone following behind me. Clearly not human. No footsteps or anything, but I knew it was bearing up incredibly fast and had stopped right on my heels. Scared, I pretended not to notice and kept walking. I almost cried out, but something strongly told me I mustn't. The feeling lingered even after reaching my apartment. The walls were thin as it was a cheap tuic, but I clearly heard multiple footsteps from the unit next door that should have been vacant. Uneasy, I dove under the covers still dressed and went to sleep. I don't remember it well, but had an awful nightmare. All I recall is being chased by something. I went to work exhausted the next day. If I could just get through today, I head off tomorrow. My shoulders were stiff, and the slightest sneeze sent pain through my body. That customer called again. Reluctantly, I took it. I politely explained that due to interfering with my work, I would have to ask her to refrain from calling again, that was all. Don't remember precisely what she said, but got screamed at furiously. I thought you liked me, that's why I played along. And even prayed for you, so why say that? I clearly remember her saying such creepy things. She sent a photo taken on her phone to my email. The date showed yesterday. While not especially distinctive, she was decent looking. Grainy, but her eyes seemed almost deranged. The message said something like, "I'll forgive you this time." Setting meetings away from my desk. I didn't answer the phone for the rest of the day. Feeling so sick, after work I dropped by my friend's club. I paid one of the girls I knew to talk until closing. He came in grinning as usual around dawn. In the cramped manager's office, I explained the situation. He just smiled wryly the whole time. "Oh man, that's bad news. You've really stepped in it now." I was on the verge of collapse from exhaustion and shoulder pain. He said I could crash at his place, a fancy condo incomparable to mine, and took me there. Dunno what's up, but I bet it's her, that complaint with the creepy face. As always, I was impressed by his apparent clairvoyance. For help with this kind of thing, money problems. 2, he was the only one I could rely on. "Yeah, she's latched onto you, it seems." He thumped my back encouragingly. Somehow I immediately felt relieved. As I lay down on the futon he'd lent me, sleepiness overcame me. I remember that dream clearly. I was fleeing back to my childhood home, running and running down the nostalgic streets to the home I hadn't returned to since graduating high school. Getting inside and locking the door, I went to the living room from my memories nearly 10 years ago. It was crowded with a bunch of strangers. I don't recall their faces. There was a middle-aged guy, a boy, some women, nobody I knew. "Please help me," I begged them desperately. "It's all right, that thing can't get in here. The rest is up to you." Something to that effect is what they seemed to tell me. Suddenly, I realized it was past 3 p.m. My friend was playing Final Fantasy on his computer. When I woke up, he paused the game and handed me a convenience store lunchbox. The shoulder pain was gone as if it were imaginary. "Feel better? Look outside." From the balcony of his 7th floor condo, a grotesque woman was pounding at the door. I could vaguely make out several other indescribable, creepy things behind her. I screamed and looked away, then they were gone. Just the windows rattling in the wind. My cell phone had multiple incoming calls from my company. As it started ringing again, I picked up. That customer was apparently claiming I'd seduced her. Grinning, my friend watched me. They said she was demanding to speak to me, so I ended up on the phone with her. Refuse her firmly," he said. I called her back and gently but unambiguously turned her down. I explained that I had no ulterior motives and, as I'd said yesterday, further calls would negatively impact my work. I forced myself to hang up. My friend opened the window to let in some air. Scared as I was, I just climbed up. "It'll still be rough, but hang in there," he said. I let him walk me home. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision. I made sure not to look. The awful dreams continued, but my shoulders felt lighter. That customer called to cancel, finally leaving me in peace. It's been about 3 weeks now. Sometimes the club phone rings silently, and her disembodied head still watches me intently now and then. But that's the extent of it.